All right, we're going to see if we can get this going. Sorry about that. I hope you guys have made your way to this live event. Let me see if I can find it on here so I can keep track of your chats. Anyway, I'm Stacy Budge Camison with UrbanGypZ, and today we're going to talk about textures. So let me get to where I can do the chats. And today we're going to talk about textures. So, all right, so I think you guys can hear me, but if chat, and I will see what I can do. All right. All right. Today we're talking about textures. And I've been doing a lot of that small rigid heddle loom weaving, and I really love it because this small width really lends itself to using a lot of textures. And when you do the textures, because if you're using like a large loom width, sometimes the subtle textures can get lost. So I like using smaller width because the texture kind of tend to pop. I'm going to show you one in a minute. All right, first I need to, the tech difficulties kind of had me in display. So yeah, I'm going to put on a little frankincense to kind of calm myself down a little bit. And I'm going to put on a little rosemary to help me focus, you know, with my aromatherapy. So anyway, okay, focusing. The textures. What do I mean by textures? I'm going to show you some of my stuff. You may have seen this piece before. This is an old piece I've done. Let me show you that. Now you can see I've got textures going on with some roving. I've got some dreads, which I need to do a tutorial on how to make these dreads. I've got some pom-pom fringe going on here, and also too, you know, the art yarn. I don't know if you can see, the art yarn kind of tends to add a little bit of texture as well. Here's another piece. Let me show you another piece. This, oh yeah, here we've got, now this was some art yarn spun with a little bit of locks spun into the yarn, but you could just lay the locks across if you wanted to. And I also have, what is this? I think that's more art yarn. And then I have some texture in the warp, you can see, and that's just like at Target. Now this, I wrote an article about my tapestry loom, and you can see here I've got some major texture going on here. Now I like having a little bit of a contrast because it also shows off, I don't know if you guys can see, it shows off the difference in this yarn here. There's just a slight subtle texture when it comes to some of that flat weaving. Anyway, so I'm playing with a lot of texture, and you know, just in this lap loom stuff, but I like doing it in the longer stuff that I've been doing on the rigid heddle as well. And you know, novelty yarns are great for texture, roving, locks, you know, using what you have on hand. I wanted to share with you some kind of out of the box ideas for texture. So, you know, like I said, you can get the yarns with the texture, and let me tell you, some of the best yarns for texture I find are like at AC Moore and Michaels. I mean, hello, this is Red Heart. Now, granted, this is called Scrubby. I do believe that this yarn is specifically for making dishcloths that you can scrub crusted stuff off of your plates. But I mean, I don't know if you guys can see, this has like a really good furry texture to it, which is awesome. And then I've got this chenille thing that's got like this little pom-pommy type stuff going on in it. I've been able to get things like ladder yarns and fun fur And like I said, this is all from Michaels, which is great because, like I said, even if I put some in the warp to where you've got just a little bit showing up in the warp, or you just have a little bit coming out in the weft, you know, it just adds a little bit to your piece, which is awesome. But some of the other things you can use as far as texture goes, and let me share with you some of my stash. Like I said, dreads are awesome. I've got these felted dreads, and I'm going to show you guys how to make these eventually. I've been promised a tutorial. I like using a roving, like just a basic domestic wool rug, a cordet. I know the standard is to use a merino, and those merino wool is really fine, and it makes a really smooth. Do I even have a really super smooth dread? But I really like the ones with just a little bit of dirt in them, which is awesome and that you get with just a regular domestic wool. You can also use alpaca. Alpaca makes some really cool dreads. I don't know if you can see this. This is like some really zigzaggy, bumpy texture dreads, and these are pretty awesome. So dreads are really great. They're great to use, you know, like I said, laying in as cords, or you can make, I've used it here in making like a texture as where I do raya loops and make it to where it's tufted and stands out. That's really fun. They're also great. You can do, see on this piece, I used it as fringe, which is awesome as well. So there's a lot of ways you can use dreads as far as texture. They're really fun to add to this stuff. This is interesting. This is actually, somebody had given me a bunch of embroidery floss, and this is the tangled mess of embroidery floss that was in with that pile. So, you know, rather than separating these out, you know, you can actually kind of add them in, just lay them into your weaving in a little bunch like that. That makes really neat texture, as well as things like your loom waist. This is lace weight loom waist that I have, which is really good. You can lay that in the same way, or you can, you know, like I said, do some raya loops and have it to where it's sticking out fuzzy, like I did here. You know, some of that has a little bit of that fuzzy in. Some other stuff. Here's we use our old t-shirts rags, and this is the this is like the hem edge of that t-shirt rag, and this is the sleeve edge, and this makes interesting texture. Just, you know, laying it into the weaving. Ribbons, same thing. This is a sari ribbon. Of course, that makes anything beautiful. This is I think I found this at a thrift store. This is just a little piece of beaded fringe, like you would use in a text in like a pillow edger or a curtain or something. You can find stuff like in the upholstery section of your fabric store. That's this big. Let's see what else I got. I have got bag after bag of texture stuff. Yeah, I save all my thrums from when I'm knitting, and from my weaving waste. I save bags of that. I've also got, I also have things. Now this is interesting. I had a friend who used to make like pageant costumes, and so he was a tailor. He would sew stuff, and so I have lots of his like fabric scraps, You know, I used to get stuff from a quilter as well. And even I'd have her even give me stuff from her thread basket. You know, when she clips her threads after sewing stuff, because some of that stuff is the best texture. So yeah, I mean, just a little bit. Like, look at this. I mean, it's all, you know, getting frayed and a mess, but you know, it's sitting in some weaving. That'll be kind of interesting. So yeah, that, you know, just using stuff like that. Boy, that made a mess all over my table. Yeah, using stuff like that's awesome. Recycling stuff. Some other things that are really cool. I go to the thrift store. Now we have this place here called the Scrap Exchange. Oh God. Yeah, the Scrap Exchange is basically, if you had, it's like a thrift store, but like not things like furniture. It's just remnant stuff. I know a lot of the biomedical places will bring their leftover petri dishes, like not their used ones, but the clean ones, stuff like equipment and just weird stuff. You get all kinds of weird stuff. Well, now they always have this large leather bin. So look at this. This is a big bunch of leather, and you can see where they've cut out pieces of it. It looks like it came from a factory where they, you know, stamped out lots of shapes from these big pieces. You know, these are great little strips to throw into the weaving. So I've got a ton of that. Now the box is usually so big that you can't dive into it very easily. I've got some blue and some white. But again, this is all, you know, just pieces like this. You can tell where that stuff out of it. Now, but, you know, maybe you don't have a factory close to where you are. You can find leather purses or leather jackets or even belts and cut strips. You know, just deconstruct something that you find at the thrift store for super cheap. They also had, I don't even think it's usually that much. I mean, but this stuff is so thin. I don't necessarily think I would use it as weft because it's so thin. But I would probably use this in spinning, like in the auto wrapping. If you look, I did a video on how to spin this yarn. And that shows you how to auto wrap. And this is exactly what I would use. Now, of course, I'm in North Carolina, so there's a lot of textile mills here. It's really easy for me to find cone yarns at the thrift store. They always have like tons of that type of stuff. But if you don't have textile mills near where you are and stuff like this in your thrift store, you can always get cone thread from like you would use for serger thread, and that's really good for auto wrapping. Anyway, I'm digressing. Auto wrapping to make textured yarns, and actually, I don't know if you can see because judging from my video, it looks like it's pretty grainy, but in here you can see there's a little bit of auto wrapping going on in the yarn that I used for the fringe on this piece. Let's see what else I had. I had gotten, oh, here's a bunch of, I forgot I got this. This is a bunch of, it looks like a very thin embroidery floss. I might actually use that for embroidery because I'm going to show you the embroidery I've been working on lately. All right, more of this. And they even had some shiny lurexy kind of yarn. I mean, on its own, I mean, plied on its own, it's kind of boring, but put it to, you know, just, I guess, paired with another piece of yarn, it might actually be kind of cool to have this little bit of glitz popping out. I think that's pretty much it. I've got, oh, they always have this yarn done in colors, so I got a bunch of the whites. Because here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to talk about color theory and texture. Because a lot of times, you know, what makes this thing really cool is you've got tons of this texture going on, but part of what makes it really interesting is that it's kind of monochromatic. I mean, there's a lot going on in this texture. I don't know if you guys can see. Like I said, on my end, it looks pretty pixelated. But, I mean, I've got ribbon, and I've got art yarn, and, you know, all kinds of stuff going on. Some roving. But if I had like a bunch of different colors in here, I think it might be too busy. When you have it monochromatic, you're going to focus on the texture a lot more. Because the color, your eye's resting on one color. It's already figured, you know, there's this one color going on. And that's going to show up the texture a lot more. You know, you can also do a little bit of a contrast. Now you can see this texture really pops out on this because you have the white, and the white's popping out against that dark background there, right? Same with, well, now here, you know, once again, it's kind of like the white. You know, this color here is similar to the texture that's going on here. You know, and then I have a little bit of contrast with that ball fringe. So I try to keep the colors kind of on the simple side when I'm playing with texture. I try not to get too much going on. That usually helps. Anyway, so yeah, I collect a lot of texture stuff, and I've got an insane amount of stash of texture. And I try to just go judiciously in my stuff. I mean, I don't go nuts. I mean, I've seen pieces where they have like texture, and that can be cool. But sometimes you just want to be mindful with your texture. Here's little bits of dreads. You know, it's real subtle, but that's kind of drawing you in. You know, you see a piece and you start to look at the details of the texture, and you kind of start to go into the piece a little bit. Now this is interesting. This is actually a piece of crochet with lace that I messed up. And it was a kind of a lace that was hard to frog. So I just laid the whole crochet stuff, line of crochet into the weaving, and that made some interesting texture. All right. Oh, some other things you can do. So this is in the name of texture. I've been making these in the ceramic studio. And this is, I'm going to put onto the weaving. And these are made out of porcelain. They're just these loops. I've got like 30 of them. And I'm going to put those into the weaving too. But what they're going to do is they're going to mimic, let's see, this one is a little better. They're going to mimic some of the loops here type of stuff. And just in a, you know, when I'm doing a bunch of them, it's just another interpretation of that texture. Now, if you don't have a, you know, I have access to an expensive ceramic studio, but they don't have to be, if it's a wall weaving, they don't have to be, you know, clay, ceramic clay. They could be air dried clay. I mean, you're not going to be adding water to it or anything. It's going to be hanging on the wall. So air dried clay or polymer clay, stuff like that. You can heck, paper mache. You know, if it's going to be something that just hangs on the wall that doesn't have to worry about moisture or weather or anything like that, you can use all kinds of things to make stuff to hang off of your off of your piece. And by the same token, I've been doing similar stuff. I've been using clay to make these headers. I mean, these hangers. So you can see this is a clay hanger I made. And I also, oh, here's a couple more that I did. course, I have to figure out, I forgot to put the hanging holes on these. So I'm going to have to figure out how to hang these. I might end up doing some wire around these. So, all right. So hello to everybody who made it here. Sorry about that. I had such technical difficulties, and I was actually the one running late, Rosanna. So don't even worry about it. Hey, Gail. We'll catch up. I want to hear how things have been with you. Yeah. All right. Also, let me do these. Now I've showed you this, where that's going to hang down from here, right? Like her dress. Right? Also made this one. It's the same thing in a series. Oh, this is going to be like that. Yay! So, anyway, those are some new hangers that I have made. And again, I've been doing these in the ceramic studio, but you know, it doesn't have to be clay. I mean, it could be air dried clay. You can do the similar thing. I'm pretty sure that when air dried clay, or even, you know, good sturdy, I could even see if you had like a piece of cardboard and did a sturdy paper mache something or other, you know, and found a way to hang it down. I mean, if it's just hanging on the wall, I mean, it's an alternative to doing the stick. Now this, this piece, you know, I did off of a traditional stick. I think this stick came with, I think this stick, either it came with a loom or somebody, I found some, I don't know, but it's specifically made to hang stuff off of. But yeah, you could get creative. Paper mache or air dried clay. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, some other textures. I mean, I found things like this. Look at this. Isn't that awesome? And now I have there's a pond near our neighborhood, and we've got all these Canadian geese. So these are louse feathers. Look at this big one. Can you imagine that, like hanging across, right? So yeah, I've got all these goose feathers that I found. Those would be pretty cool. You could, so, and this is some people might find this, but I've seen people do this from with painting, where you go and you get you some chicken wings and eat your chicken wings and eat the heck out of your bone. You put your bones in your piece. So yeah, feather and leather and bones and seashells. Look at this. Wouldn't that be awesome hanging from it? I don't know if you can see. It's got all these little poured coral and stuff coming off of it. Yeah. Anyway, get your chicken bones and you clean them really good. You eat the heck out of them and then bleach the rest and put them in the sun to dry. I don't know what to do to prepare chicken bones. But I tell you, if you do that, make sure that piece is not close to the ground to where the cat eat it. Because I've had a friend who put some on his painting, had set the painting on up against the wall, getting ready to hang it, and the dog ate the chicken bones off of that. So yeah, you might want to hang it high. But that would look really cool. Bones in the piece. So that's about texture. I mean, think outside the box. Sticks, feathers, leather, shells. Make stuff out of clay or air dried clay, or put pencils in there, paintbrushes, all kinds of stuff. Go to the thrift store and just look at what they got. I mean, think outside the box a little bit and just play. I mean, and that's part of what makes some of this kind of weaving really fun, is when you are able to add some textures. So you know, think a little outside the box with your textures. All right. I wanted to also go through some of the other stuff I've been working on. I don't know if you guys, one of my YouTube friends, Batik Walla, she does these awesome batik clothes. I love her stuff. Anyway, she has inspired me, and I've been playing with, and she does, let me back up. When in the kind of dye she does with batik is fiber react dyes. A lot of what I do is acid dyes, and that's meant for like wool and silk and animal fibers. The fiber reactive stuff is a little bit different chemistry. So I had to get a new set of dyes and some new chemistry, and I've been playing with that a little bit. And I made, look at this. Now I started this during the move, and I've only done but I did a little batik with wax resist on there, and have been playing with some fiber reactive dyes. So this is the first layer. I'm going to do like a gray layer on top of it and batik a little bit of detail in the pink for it to come out. So that's what I've been doing here. I also, this is another one I started. I don't know if you guys can see, with a little in there. And I'm gonna, I'm not sure what colors I'm gonna do this one in. But anyway, I've been having a little that. Doing a little batiking, and I'm going to put a link. Has some tutorials on her YouTube channel. They're necessarily, I mean, she gives a lot of information. You'll have to go through a couple of videos and you can see her process. But she gives a lot of information on how to dye cotton and rayon and fiber. Fiber reactive stuff, the plant fibers. So check her stuff out. I have also, look at this, y'all. I'm doing some embroidery as if I didn't have enough to do. But here's the plan. I have a couple of pieces that I've worked on. As you can see on here, I've got, you know, the textury stuff, and then I have this big blank canvas here that I wove very plain for a reason, and that's because I intend to put an embroidered patch right there. It's not necessarily going to be this one. This is me practicing on a white bandana. I've been playing, just trying to understand embroidery. It's been a long time. I don't think I've embroidered since Girl Scouts. So anyway, but then is to go back to some of my weavings with the spaces and put some of these patches in and kind of just accentuate the weaving a little bit that way. So that's what I've been working on. A lot of stuff. All right, I'm going to see if you guys have any questions for me. Hi everybody from Texas, hi from Maryland, hi from Cleveland, hi from San Diego. Hi you guys, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you found me. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties at the beginning of the video, or the other video. Yeah, a long story short, I'm using my phone, and that's probably why it looks like the camera is not doing very great resolution, and I apologize. We'll have that hammered out the next time. Oh, I play with a fiber. Have you thought of woven skirts, pants, or long woven streamers with wire to add dimension? Ooh, wire to add dimension. I really like that idea, Reggie. And you know, it's interesting because I think somewhere I even have some art yarn that I core spun onto wire. Now, wouldn't that be cool? Right? I might have to think about something like that. And I'm wondering if, sorry, some fibers in my nose. I'm wondering if there would also be a way to just do like the thin wire. I mean, for a sculptural piece, that might be great. As far as a wearable, I don't know if I would do it as a wearable. It would depend on where the wearable would be worn. Like if it was a collar, maybe, because I think that with the wire, if it starts to get bent too much, it might break. But that's an interesting. I'm going to play with that idea. We'll get back to you, or if you play with it, share in the Fiber Art Collective. That'd be awesome. All the books behind me. What is your favorite? Like I have a favorite. Oh my God. I tell you what my favorite is. I do have a favorite. This book, Knitting in the Nordic Tradition. This book is actually Lark Books produced this, and I used to work at Lark. And when they were disassembling, and actually the reason why I have all these books is when they were disassembling their reference library, I happened to be working there, and they decided that knitting and weaving was not on trend. And so they decided to get rid of all their books. Who am I to argue them when they're getting rid of all the books? I loaded up my car 7 times, and this is what I got. And if you don't know, Lark Books was owned by Fiber Arts Magazine. And actually they started from Fiber Arts Magazine. And Fiber Arts Magazine used to get preview copies of all kinds of books, like in the 70s and 80s, for them to review in their magazine. So a lot of these books are preview copies, like first edition preview copies of weaving books from the 70s or 80s that they were throwing away. So yeah, I rescued a bunch of books. Anyway, but this Knitting in the Nordic Tradition, this is really cool because this is a total geek out book. I don't think it's in print, but it has stuff like this in it. You know, how to make stirs in the tradition of, you know, how they've been doing it for years in the Nordic countries. So it's a lot of it has to do with formulas. They don't really have patterns. They just knit. They just knit. My second favorite book. Oh, if I can put my hands on it. Watch me not be able to. And I know I've talked about this book a lot. If I can't put my hands on it, I'll just link it below. Am I sitting in front of it? I don't see it. My second favorite book is, what's it called? Knitting in the Old Way by Priscilla Gibson. And she goes and she looks at different countries and the way they knit. And all these different countries have different traditions for the style of clothing that they would make, but they all were based on the same kind of knitting formula that like Elizabeth Zimmerman teaches, where you know, based on measurements and percentages, and that's how you figure out how to knit this way and knit that way. And anyway, that book is really cool because it kind of, once you get the pattern out of the way and wrap your brain around just knitting kind of on the fly, I think that opens you up to a lot more creativity. I mean, you have to kind of be okay with making some mistakes and ripping stuff back. But, you know, there it is. You live and you learn, right? All right. One of my favorite, but I saved some of my husband's old guitar strings to use in a piece. Oh my God, that's awesome. That would make really cool. Yeah, those guitar strings. Yeah, I would like to see that. If you're in the Fiber Art Collective, please post a picture of that. That would be awesome to see. Anyway. All right. I think that's about it for now. Sorry for the technical stuff, and next time hopefully I'll have a better quality video for you. I can tell that this is a little pixelated. It's because I'm doing it off my phone. I didn't intend to do it off my phone, but come to find out, if you build the live video on your phone, you're stuck using your phone. So next time I'm going to do it on my computer because that camera is much better. Anyway, and next week, this Friday, I'm taking a weaving class at the Triangle Weavers Guild. I don't know how often they do these classes. It looks like this was the only time they were offering it this year. It was just a basic class, and it's learning how to, you know, prepare a loom and weave on a traditional loom in a traditional way. And I just don't know how to warp a loom like that, a 4-shaft loom. And I've got a 4-shaft table loom, and I've had it for 10 years. I just haven't been able to warp it. So I'm going to take this class and learn how to do that. Anyway, but that's next weekend. I'm going to try and do these on Sunday, unless Sunday's a bad day. If there's a better day, let me know. Leave me a comment. But it seems like Sunday afternoon kind of hits when people are off of work in the time zones. So I'm planning on doing that. But next week, I'm going to do it during the week, maybe Tuesday, because I'll be taking this class next weekend, and then Monday we're going to the beach for my birthday. So anyway, so when I'm back on Tuesday, I'll come on and share with you what I did in my class and what I learned. And so I think it's posted in the schedule on YouTube, and it'll be in the newsletter. I'll send you a link in the newsletter. So anyway, all right, thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you guys not this coming Tuesday, but next Tuesday. So have a good day. Bye, y'all. Oh, how do I turn this off?